Welcome to week 4. This topic builds on the knowledge that you have acquired in social policy and community development course and help you apply these processes and concepts to the rural context. This week we are focusing on social policy and social planning in rural practice and how social workers can be involved in developing innovative policies and practices that address social inclusion and social sustainability for rural people and rural areas. We also need to examine and analyze the impact of globalization in policy formulation and its effect on service provision, funding, marketization, privatization of human services. You will benefit by reading book chapters and journal articles by Margaret Alston, as she has examined the impact of globalizing forces on social policy formulation for rural and remote areas. Please see the references that have been included in the reading list with lecture notes. To develop greater understanding of social policy and its impact, it is important to examine the variability of rural context and the complex dynamics of rural societies that may exclude some people who are poor, marginalized, and disadvantaged in the society. There is also a strong link between poverty and social inclusion and neoliberal policies that emphasize on individual responsibility rather than structural aspects. There are multiple factors that are contextual in rural practice, such as commonly noted issues around access of services, lack of alternative opportunities, lack of public transportation, distance from the point of service delivery, funding arrangements that are not aligned with requirements for rural practice. These factors reflect upon social policies and its impact upon human service provision in rural areas. The lecture notes provide you with a brief description of what is social policy, some new focus that's required when we are developing rural development policy, and a conceptual framework that could be used in developing social policy. The concept of asset-based community development and social capital is familiar to you and should be considered, especially when planning and implementing social policy in a rural context. The lecture notes also outline a generic process of policy formulation by Bridgman and Davis. However, as social workers, you should be considering a process that would enhance engagement and participation of rural people in the policy formulation and implementation. The lecture notes give you a brief overview of how social workers or care practitioners can be involved in the policy formulation process, social planning, and community development process. To conclude, remember that communities act within broader socio-economic cultural environment, and social policies can either facilitate or impede community development. Sound local social planning supported by government policy and resources has much to contribute to actualizing potentialities of communities. As part of your online activity assessment, you are required to choose one social policy area such as income security, employment, health, education, and families and children, and identify one aspect of that policy, identifying some implications for rural areas. Please provide a 100 to 150 word summary of your findings on implications on a collaborative wiki page. Please note, this wiki page will be included in the online activity assessment. Next week, we will look at theoretical approaches and framework for rural social work practice. Thank you. Bye for now.